We were telling people it would be like this. We were sort of making peace with it, even in the moment of like, okay, it's going to be really bad. There's going to be no bullpen to speak of. Some of the starters are hurt. The lineup is still the lineup, except now you're missing Castro, Correa, and Bader. And also now you're going to be calling up some guys who probably are legitimate AAA guys, maybe at some point some young guys, which they're finally, I think, reaching that point. We're going to talk a lot about that later on in the show. And there's going to be some guys out of position. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be, but maybe it's a little freeing that the wins in the wow.
Sure.
It ain't that freeing, let me tell you, because you still got to watch it, or at least we have to watch it. Maybe people aren't watching and they're counting on us to just recap it for an hour.
I am betting their TV ratings are probably showing that.
Well, we're happy. Maybe happy is the wrong word. We're willing to sacrifice our own sanity and enjoyment and happiness in lives so that we can just recap a bad 7-game homestand for you if you didn't watch it.
1-6 homestand, yes.
Yeah, I mean they're now 3-9 in the last dozen games. You know, you lose 3 out of 4 to Detroit at home. There's no great shame in that. I mean, Detroit's going to win the division. They've been one of the best teams in baseball since the second half of last year, or since the All-Star break last year, I guess. You know, before that, they lost 2 out of 3 in New York, which that's basically a good outcome for the Minnesota Twins over the last 25 years, is losing 2 out of 3 in New York. But the one that really, and honestly, the A's are playing well lately, but the A's are a very bad team with a very low payroll, and they're not really trying to be competitive, and they're playing in a non-home ballpark and all that stuff. They're sort of nomad status.
And you got swept.
Right. And it wasn't
I mean, come on.
It wasn't cute. It wasn't pretty. It was just a lot of bad baseball, and a lot of the things that I kind of reeled off there at the beginning were at play. They also, the funny part is they came into this past series against the A's. I always used to call them Oakland, but I don't. They're West Sacramento now, I guess. I'll just stick to A's. They came into this series against the A's at home, and the A's had the second best record, or the second worst record, in the American League, and the Twins had the third worst record. But by virtue of being swept, the Twins are now tied with the A's, percentage point wise, with the second worst record. And now, after being swept by the team that was behind you, and you're now tied with, now they head to Chicago to play the worst team in the American League. Now, whether the White Sox sweep the Twins or vice versa, or whatever happens during this 3-game weekend series in Chicago, the White Sox have the worst record in the American League locked up.
We're not going to pass them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they do, I'm not going to want to talk about it on this show, even if that happens down the stretch. But so I don't know. It's been, it can't surprise anybody. Certainly. I mean, we can speak for ourselves. It can't surprise us. This is legitimately, I mean, it's worse than I expected the last 12, but they played well for, I don't know, 7 days, 10 days coming right out of they lost the 2 out of 3 in Cleveland, and then they played well for about a week or a week and a half, in early August. And, we're parsing small samples here, but certainly what we've seen over the last dozen games, 3-9, including, like you said, the 1-6 homestand, is along the lines of what I feel like kind of not only their talent level is, because they're at a deficit for talent. They have, you're looking out there, they got Jose Urania starting and Thomas Hatch, and the bullpen's a bunch of anonymous guys, and the lineup honestly hasn't hit for a year and a half now at this point. So that hasn't really changed. But it's also,
but other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yes, it was great.
Just looking to what you just threw out there.
The intermission was the best part of the play. But beyond that, I got another one. They also just have guys not only playing out of position. You got Mickey Gasper catching. You got Eddie Julian playing first base. You got Austin Martin playing second base. I don't think Brooks Lee's out of position, but you got him learning to play shortstop every day after not playing a ton when Correa was around. But I would also argue that like the bullpen is kind of, quote, out of position. You know what I mean? Like you have guys trying to pitch high leverage who not only shouldn't be in high leverage, but in some cases shouldn't even really necessarily be in the majors at all. And you have some guys trying to start games for them, although I think that's coming to an end. We're going to get to that in a minute or so. Because one of the things we've kind of been harping on, and I know you felt even stronger about this than I did in the last 10 days, let's say, was the idea of, you traded 10 guys off at the deadline. There's going to be a period of time there, just like functionality wise, where you just need placeholders and seat fillers. You just kind of got to get your bearings as a roster. And they did that. I mean, anytime you add 8, 9, 10 guys in the course of 36 hours, you're not going to be bringing up superstars or even future superstars. And they filled in a lot of the gaps with, the guys we just talked about, Urania and Thomas Hatch and Michael Tonkin and various other guys in on that. They called Gasper back up and, Ryan Fitzgerald, those types of guys. These are AAA guys. These are not guys who maybe can have some sort of utility to a team in a major league role, but they're not guys who should be playing a lot. And you certainly shouldn't have 6, 8, 9, 10 of them on a roster.
Right.
But I kind of felt, and I think you agreed initially, I kind of felt like you got to get like a standing 8 count here for a team. Like they've been knocked down multiple times here by the deadline. You need some time to just catch their breath, play some games, kind of get over the shock of the entire trade deadline situation. But then I kind of pointed to, I would say right about now, and certainly like September 1st is always that mile marker that you look at, particularly because they can add 2 more guys to the roster, where I was like, if we get to the last week of August, and certainly if we get to September 1st, and it's still, a third of the roster is still these placeholder guys who clearly have no part of the 2026 plans, let alone the 2027 and beyond plans, then I think you're kind of wasting an opportunity. And I know you started to speak up about that, particularly the past week. I believe now we're going to see that at least on the starting pitching side.
And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.
Gleeman